Hello and welcome to a new Nerf video on the channel. My name is Accutrike and today we are covering the Accutrooper from the Accustrike line. This is nostalgic for me. I remember back in 2010 getting the original Alpha Trooper from the N-Strike line when it was yellow and it had a smaller drum. If anybody remembers that, I love you. But this is a very fun blaster. Took me back to the times of, again, a decade ago when it first came out, and it's still this good. Now, one of the key things to point out, like the Revoltinator that I reviewed recently, this blaster is currently not available in the UK, at least not on shelves. Obviously, with the current global situation, it's not going to be, but at the time of it first being released, it wasn't shipped to the UK. So I've been able to pay a little extra money and get this from Germany on eBay, and it is a number of different things. We'll get into all of that in this review. So traditionally, when I do my Nerf blaster reviews, it is of older blasters from the past, and I generally compare them as to whether it's still worth buying in comparison to the blasters that are available on shelves today. This is going to be an interesting result at the end. So just to get you a whole look of this blaster, it is absolutely spectacular straight out of the box. The paint job definitely says Accustrike. It definitely takes you back to the days of the Accustrike lines. If anybody's got one of the Accustrike blasters from the original N-Strike days, lucky you, I suppose. I never really got one of them, which is a shame. But looking back now as a sort of more mature and older standpoint, I would love to be able to just have one. So this is, again, very interesting. Let me take all the accessories off because it does come with a few things. Pardon me. So this is the core blaster itself, and it is exactly the same as it was when it first came out, with a few minor differences. First of all, at the front, this is a barrel attachment point, which is one of the key things that turned me on about getting this blaster. When the Alpha Trooper first came out, and all iterations up to this one, it didn't have this barrel attachment point. It had its own unique muzzle, and whilst there are definitely people out there who modified their Alpha Troopers to have this, you can now buy one stock with the ability to attach your own barrels, which is really cool. Speaking of stocks, it has a stock attachment point, and this one in particular comes with its own stock. Does anybody recognize the shape of this stock? It's not a reskin of anything, but it definitely reminds you of one from the past. Does anybody remember the Nerf Super Soaker line, you know, when it was good? Back in the days of the Hydro Cannon, that massive thing with a big old shield, and oh, it was so much fun. In particular, the Lightning Storm. You know, the small one that had its own water drum, its own shield, and a stock that looked like this. This is one of the most popular stocks ever. Maybe not this one in particular, but that shape was really popular. Just to take it off again for a better look. So this shape is probably the best shaped stock ever. It has its own dip down section where you can rest your cheek. It's solid, it's long, it's perfect size for Nerfers young and old, and it's been replicated by third-party sellers. I wouldn't say all over the world, but it's just very popular, and to see that shape come back, I think is amazing. I personally never got a Lightning Storm Super Soaker blaster, so I missed out on that stock, but I was very close to buying one of the knockoff ones a few times before in the past. I'm glad I didn't ultimately because I got this, and now I have this one. It's not perfect because of how this has been built. You can see along the sides, if I zoom in now, all these kind of sections where the plastic is kind of dipped in some sections. I don't know what word to use there, but you know what it looks like along there. And it carries that up to this cheek piece here. So this square section here, or rectangular I should say, is the cheek piece. If I were to put my cheek against this, it's not particularly comfortable. That's because of how square it is. It's not rounding off, it's still, again, it has that square shape to it. That's probably the best word I can use, which is why I'm probably still saying it. It's not sharp, it definitely is smooth. You can rub your finger along there and you're not going to cut yourself or anything. You've got nothing to worry about. But it's not particularly comfortable. After a while, you are going to feel your cheek hurt a bit and potentially have to replace this with a different stock. But nonetheless, I'm still glad that this stock exists. And with how this blaster has been designed and shaped, I love how it continues on with this detail along here. So if I take it off, oh, bit difficult to do so, but I'd rather it was a bit stiff, so definitely stays on. You can see how it all lines up. Just looks really nice. One thing I can't quite show you because of how bad the camera quality is along the side here, it says Accutrooper CS12. I'm assuming that refers to one of the past iterations from the Elite line, where it was an Accutrooper CS12. It doesn't say Accutrooper, it says Accutrooper CS12. Okay, not a complete reskin, sure. But still, it is a beautiful, beloved Accutrooper. It is pump action with slam fire. So you can hold down the trigger and continue to pump the blaster and it will continue to fire. So brace yourself for noise. Yep, that is how it works, and I for one would rather spring blasters from now and basically forever onwards have a slam fire effect unless it is purpose built as a sniper rifle. With how popular flywheel blasters are and how common they're becoming, why would anybody go for a spring blaster? It's definitely a good argument where you have much more control of the rate of fire, and chances are some springs are more powerful than flywheels depending on how well you mod. That's not something I know, so I'm not going to be going any further into that, but it's definitely an argument that can be made. But all in all, it's still, again, a beloved Accutrooper. If you have one of these before in the past, you know how good this is. It feels the same, it's so comfortable, the grip. I haven't held this grip in a long time, and because my hand is now a lot bigger, it's not quite as comfortable. There is this section here where you can put your hand against when you go to pump the grip. So you could literally just use that and it would work. But wrapping it around, I think, is still a really comfortable decision, and I'm glad they never strayed away from that. So with this comes a 25 dart drum. I for one love drums, so having more drums is a welcome addition. I'll just fire off that dart so my spring isn't compressed. That's a good reminder, actually. So having that primed and having my spring compressed is something that I've heard people complain about. When I had this blaster shipped to me, it was shipped in a position where it was like that. Obviously the magazine wasn't loaded, but the trigger wasn't pulled. So the spring would be back and it would be basically in a position where it would be ready to fire. So once I grabbed it out, I grabbed the whole blaster out, put it together, got really excited. And in my excitement, I grabbed the grip really tightly and pulled the trigger, and I heard, well, not the ping of the dart hitting some, but again, I heard that click of the action being primed. I thought, bugger, this might not be as hard hitting as I want it to be. If I go to have Nerf wars in the future, this might not be as strong as I want it. Again, modifications can always lead to fixing that, but stock out of the box, that's a problem. That's a really big problem. But nonetheless, it is still a fun blaster. You're going to be firing fast anyway because of the slam fire nature of this blaster, and you're probably not going to notice how hard this hits. You're just going to see a dart fly across the field anyway. You're not going to care for having a massive chronograph in front of your blaster anyways to measure every shot because you're a loser nerd and you try hard with Nerf. I mean, come on. Better than that. So, all in all, there we go. I don't want to keep my spring compressed any more than I want it to. All in all, this is a very cool blaster. And whilst it's still not available in the UK yet, it's available in a number of other different countries. If you never had an Accutrooper before in the past, it's definitely a blast from the past. Get one. This is definitely worth the purchase. Though I bought mine for a fair whack, and that's mainly due to the shipping costs. But the price for the blaster itself was a little bit more than I thought. It was about £30, I believe. Which is, I suppose that kind of makes sense if you're going to compare prices to other blasters. But £30 for the blaster, a stock, and a drum magazine, I don't know if I could justify that. Then again, I'm not buying blasters, I'm looking at blaster prices every single day, so I could be wrong. But then again, that's your choice. Even at £30, which is what I paid for it, I'd still buy it. But in the future, when prices go down, definitely keep an eye out for this because it is beautiful. This is definitely the best iteration of the Accutrooper because of the fact that it comes with a drum, it comes with a stock, you can add barrels. But if you go onto eBay and look up other Accutroopers, just to get an older one, it's still definitely worth buying because it's essentially the same blaster. It's just amazing. It's been a staple of the hobby for, well, a decade now. Ever since it came out, it's been one of the best blasters that people still go to. As a spring blaster, there aren't really many that I would go to. But now that I have this, if I had no flywheels, this is definitely my go-to spring option. So, there we go, that is it for the Accutrooper. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all ever so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.